Hi there, what's up? We're in the next part, and frankly, it's quite boring for me to keep talking about this, but anyway, hopefully we will get to a point where we are happy to be done. Alrighty, my phone is charging, let it keep on being charged, amen. I was speaking about carbon emissions and how it is that God is humiliating that globalistic elite agenda, that apparently the world is coming to an end because we exhale too much, and so therefore we should likely just not breathe at all and reduce the numbers of us, depopulate the living daylights out of the earth. Right. So there is clearly intervention by a deity, by our God, all right, to humiliate elitist global agendas of the planet, and how it is that not everybody on the earth is suffering the same fate as the West. And so therefore God is not going to ubiquitously just ransack all of the planet because the West is crazy. He is recalibrating scales. Likely that's what's going on right now. Okay. And then, after speaking about that, I wanted to highlight, so the globalistic elite agenda is to take everybody's farmland and monopolize farming or monopolize land ownership to just 1, 2, or 2, 3, or 5 people. They're at the top. They want to colonize food. They also want to tell you how to light up your world. They want to say that use this instead of that, renewable or getting clean energy, blah blah, use the wind, use whatever. And now here it is that they're using coal in Europe, or at least trying to, because they want to purchase it from African countries that are backward in how they produce power. And then I spoke about how it is that the woke agenda is not embraced like by the globe at large. It is mostly an American issue. Most of Europe doesn't even approve of the woke agenda, and so too does, of course, Asia does not take it at all. The Middle East is not content with it, neither is Africa. Not really sure what's going on there in South America, because last time I checked, Brazil was trying everything in its power to be woke, but we'll just like say, or the majority of the planet is not quite yet on board with the American issue that is causing an apocalypse in that region of the world alone. So therefore, if at all, it's that region of the world that is enduring these levels of apocalyptic events, and not everybody else. What America is then on that day is Sodom, and everybody else is Lot. They're gonna get out. Do you understand? The land is under judgment. So too is much of the Western world under judgment. But everybody else has not quite gotten to that level of entropy, if you know what I'm saying. Everybody else is not headed to entropy, guys, in the said fashion, in a similar downward spiral to Western society. So we cannot then, as a global citizenship, if we are responsible Christians, if we are responsible at all as believers in the Lord Jesus Christ, we have got to look at everything with a Berean eye, and not just our own countries. I can give a very biased view of the world right now based on my dystopia here in South Africa as a persecuted Christian, but it would be irresponsible for me to disregard information about everywhere else in the world, because God is looking at everything else in the world, not just you alone in South Africa, not just you alone in America, and not just you alone in, I don't know, Trinidad and Tobago. He's looking at everybody ubiquitously with that omnipresence of his. So we then have to be responsible enough to collate data from all of the world to figure out where we find ourselves in these days. And so if global issues are not sufficiently telling enough of the end, we need to be responsible enough as Christians to say, we are in the end, but you know what, we might still have another 50 years. We might still have another 120 years. And so, like I said, when I started in this chat, this discussion, I spoke about that gentleman on End Times Productions that gave that exposition on his beliefs on when the Lord will likely reap the bride. He said we likely have another 120 years here, and I can't say that I believe him and I stand by what he says, because I am not entirely sold on his theory, but I am also not entirely antagonistic to it. I just am saying I am literally in a rock and a hard place. I'm in the middle of him and everybody else who believes we're leaving tomorrow. Things are bad enough for Christ to come and rapture the church, plus the doctrine of imminency has it that it could happen at any minute. But I can see also how we might still be here another 120 years. I don't believe we have another 1,000 to go. I don't also believe we have another 500 to go. I believe we are the last generation indeed, but I don't believe it's entirely incongruent with Bible prophecy that we might still be here 40 years from today. I'm just saying, we are in the end because it is, but it could still be another 20, 30, 40, maybe 50 years. I don't even think 120 years we're still gonna be here, but I do believe that it might be another one. Yeah, what's this? Another 30? Might be. And this is at my own disquiet. You must understand that I am speaking as a woman that is persecuted. So for me, for Christ to return is literally holy grail. It would absolutely benefit me 100% because I hate my life. But I gotta be realistic, and that's why I keep on working on trying to get out of the squalor so I can get some kind of a semblance of a normal life. I'm 38 years old. I've lost all of my 30s to persecution, and so for me to escape the trauma of what I've endured would be great through the rapture. But just in case that's not happening, I still want to see if I can't be a wife. I still want to see if I can't be a mother. And I still want to see if I can't be a business owner. I still want to see if I cannot build a legacy here on earth. Because what if I've got another 30 years remaining? I would much rather not have those 30 years remaining. I don't want to be here. I want to go home. But if at all it doesn't happen, what is the next step? I got a plan for a future that I don't desire. Because if I don't, I'm irresponsible with the life God has given me here on earth. I got a plan for a future on earth when I prefer a future in a 7-year tribulation in heaven following a millennial reign of Jesus Christ. But I might just very potentially have a future where I've got 30 years on earth, 7 years in heaven, and 1,000 years in the millennial reign of Jesus Christ, and then eternity forever with him in the new heaven and in the new earth. Christians have to create balance, guys. We have to look at everything. You know, a lot of the content that I consume is American because, frankly, they are one of the largest, if not the largest exporter of the gospel in the world, and they've got some of the best teachers there. But it can skew your view of what's happening all over the show. Their view of things is based on a world leader that has been given them that is a judgment on their land, and a woke agenda that is eating away at them, and an enmity with Israel that is brewing, alongside an enmity with a superpower that is trigger happy. They are dealing with a leadership, a very Machiavellian leadership structure over them that is deliberately decimating their economy in a Galilean dialectic to try and foster in some one world government. And they understand that in order to achieve this one world government agenda, they have got to cause the United States of America to get over their what they call little American dream. They have got to cause the American citizenship on the ground to be content to let go of their national patriotism. So they are given a president that is literally giving their country over the dogs so it can be weak enough to cease being a superpower, that they might finally get on board with the global agenda of one world governmenting. You will remember Donald Trump was against globalization and the globalist agenda, not so much globalization, but the holistic agenda. He was against it because it was taking away from the glory of the American system that has been with blood, sweat, and tears built over so many years. Their crown of glory, he didn't want that taken away. But there are global elites who want to create a one world government. And in trying to create this one world government, they have got to weaken the superpower of the world that will not want to let go of its power easily. So they put a president in place that is weakening the land by causing it to be wobbly-legged so that it will get to a point where it will eventually capitulate to the one world agenda. And so when you are listening to news coming from people coming from that kind of vantage point where they're seeing the country being torn apart deliberately and on purpose, you might be tempted to believe it's happening across the world because they are so influential. And indeed, we ought pray for them that their land might be preserved, because indeed it is in the best interest of us all for there to not be a one world government coming to us anytime soon. We have to fight for the US to stand. Otherwise, it is literally going to be a domino effect if they fall. Do you understand? But we cannot, upon seeing the demise of the US, or what's currently the impending demise, apart from the intervention of God, they will indeed fall. We cannot then imagine that it is our status quo too, because it's not. Meaning that the United States needs to strive, citizens there, Christians there, they need to strive to rescue their land and keep it in its superpower status for the sake of their land and their prosperity in the future. Otherwise, they are going to enter into some dystopia that they're not used to, and it's going to take very many years for them to recover if the Lord does not come and take the church back, which might be true given that everywhere else in the world is not 100% carbon copy similar to what's happening in the US. It's not that dystopian everywhere else. Next part.